Well, my video just went.
Yep, I only hear you. There you are.
Hey everyone! My camera's working. Welcome to the Predictive Playbook, and of course, I'm your host, John Ryan. I don't know what to say about that. That was weird. It went live and it blanked me out. I know I've been adding code to this, Dr. Chuck, that will blank out guys like Tony Finn when appropriate, so that it doesn't look like he's on the show.
Yeah.
So maybe it did it to me. You know, it's a bot. You know, and we have to perfect this thing.
That's just being smart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope he comes on because it'll be a blast because he loves the analytics that you like to look at in baseball as well as I do.
I know he's roaming the streets for some lewds right now. So once he gets those in his system, I'm sure he'll log on.
Yep. And he's been combing his hair too, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before it was. It was pretty tough to have him on the show the first couple of times.
And who knew with how, eloquent he is with words, who knew how well he could write? You see that earlier today, Damn impressive.
Yeah, it is. And he claims that it is his own work.
Yeah,
Well, this morning we did the National League. So people who are watching us on this today, be sure to get over to the YouTube channel, SportsMemo TV, and there is a show that I produced this morning with Dr. Chuck. We went over 4 games. It was Pirates, Reds, Orioles, Phillies, Cardinals, Brewers, Dodgers, Rockies, Giants, Padres, and that actually is 5 games. We added the Phillies and the Orioles just in case the Phillies remembered to put a starting pitcher on the mound.
Hey, they did go with Matt Moore. I don't know if that's a good deal, but Matt Moore will be going, it looks like. Nope, now it's Medina. Never mind.
It is a game that I can honestly say that I looked at it, and believe it or not, I am on it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bold move, but it came out of my models as a 4%er no matter who pitches, and it's because the Phillies got shut out by a crap team yesterday.
Yeah.
So favorites of minus 200 or greater that had 0 extra base hits, and Means allowed 4 hits to the Phillies last night. In their 0 extra base hits in their previous game, has earned a ridiculous 58-8 straight up record, and the average score over these games has been 5.9 to 2.5. So I am willing to think that Phillies win, and they win by a lot tonight.
Yeah,
Harper didn't have any hits last night.
Yep.
And that bodes well because he rarely in this stretch, certainly after the All-Star break, has ever had back-to-back games without a hit. He's like the new George Springer, best, not best bet, but the bet George Springer's team after a game which he had no hits.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
Just raking it in. Oh, yeah.
So that's the reason I'm on the Phillies, so we can add that to the foray here of games. But let's get to the American League here, because I know there's a lot here to talk about, and I do hope Tony Finn is listening. I'm sure Las Vegas Chris is. Hi, Chris. Can you tell Tony Finn to get his butt on the show, whatever show he's on? This is more important with having Dr. Chuck on here. Because I want to hear about the weather forecast for these games and the ADI and the other stuff that is good. I mean, you guys in the chat room are going to love this.
Tony, I don't want Tony to be worried about my Weller. I know it's 2 years coming.
Yeah, we'll address the bourbon issue, I think. It's like the very first second he's on here, and then I don't think I'll forget to tell him about the Ben Simmons news, but Rob Vino would love to hear that, because he's kind of he and I are kind of associated with Philly just geographically. Yeah. I'm probably about an hour and a half away from him. He's on the west side. I'm on the northeast side, closer to Princeton.
I know. You guys have the geographics. I unfortunately have the heart. Oh.
Well, as I told you this morning, my favorite basketball team in the NBA is the Sixers.
All right.
And I was denying it on the show because I didn't want that word to come out, homer. And sure enough, Tony Finn called me a homer, and it did anger me. I went to therapy a few times, and I got rid of the anger that I had towards Tony Finn.
He's like Teflon Tony if you try and pigeonhole him on a team. I mean, like he'll wear a Chiefs hoodie heading to the Super Bowl on the NBA show and then say he doesn't care about the Chiefs.
Yep. He said, "Oh, I didn't even know I had this on."
Yeah. He'll be like, I didn't even care. I didn't even care the Royals won the World Series. I didn't even know I was at the movies.
It's true. Yeah. It is true. But the first game we're going to talk about here is the Mets and the Red Sox, and this is a real interesting late season matchup that, before the season started, you looked at the schedule and you thought, boy, this could have major ramifications. It does for the Red Sox. Red Sox, I think, are going to make it, Dr. Chuck, especially if they take care of business with the Mets. But the Mets have Stroman on the hill. And that plus 1.5 run line is being bet by, I would have to say it might be sharps, but it's being bet. Where do you think is the best bet for this matchup tonight?
Yeah, so for the guys that have my all access, that we have at times really tracked both of these guys. Stroman really came out hot. It was hard not to back him. There was a lot of factors, and he kind of analytically just took a dumpster dive, and we acted accordingly. Erod has kind of gone the other way and has looked pretty solid. The Mets are kind of a middling against the left-hander team, but there's that angle you and I were discussing where this is the first game of a series, and it's an interleague game, and 19 of the last 25 times the road team was able to cover that run line. It doesn't look as pretty as it was, as we were discussing with the value. I think we've lost at least 20 cents, maybe more than that now, where we're looking at, it's already, at some books it's minus 160 now, where it opened about minus 130. And so that's about right, because that's kind of what I would have done. I don't really have any feel for the total in this game, and there's no umpire assignment yet. So I can't imagine wanting to, for no reason, lay this with the Red Sox, even though, like you said, I think they're probably going to make it. We'll talk about the Yankees in a little bit and whether or not, what's gone on there. But
yeah,
I can't say that there's a good side to take. If you wanted to, get a time machine, go back and get that Mets run line as soon as you woke up this morning. But look and see if that streak continues and utilize it in the future. This is what we can be here to help you teach, using SDQL and trends and things like that, where you're going to know in this spot, the run line is where you look on that road team. Going to get all 9 at bats no matter what. Doesn't have to worry about, blowing a lead or anything like that. Just needs to come back and lose by a run. Red Sox aren't going to care about that either. So in late game scenarios, like a late game scenario, you got second and third and you're up a couple runs, Alex Cora doesn't have to adjust the infield. He doesn't have to walk someone. He doesn't have to, things like that are things that you have to take into account in what might be a close game.
Yeah, I agree. And there's 2 things I'm going to add here. On the total, I like the over. It's not a premium bet, but I like the over, especially if we're starting in the top of the third and it's 1-0, or at the worst 1-1, and you'll get a better price, especially if it's 0-0.
Oh yeah.
And then I would start betting it. 1 unit at a time. We do 5%, 4%, 3%, and that's of your bankroll. So that could be 300, 400, 500, for example, or it could be 30, 40, 50. So I would start in game with $10 if I was that guy, or I'll start it with 100 if I was the other example, and then I will add to it. We had a couple games with Rob, Tony, and myself where they went first 5 under, and then I said, well, if it goes under in this situation, then you're going to get a hell of a price for the over. Here's why I like the over. And sure as hell, they worked out both ways.
Oh, absolutely. So, live betting. isn't something that we endorse per se, but there is just loads of bags
Yep.
you can get in that game. I mean, like you said, you get a good pitching matchup, and you already know, you got what bullpens you might have coming, which is interesting because it's a game we're going to talk about in a little bit here with Blue Jays and Rays. But I'm pretty bullish on the starters, not as much on one of the team's bullpens, and and hammer both plays, and it's not necessarily something that we can give out, but we can coach you in that direction.
Right, and we'll get to NBA season. I have a couple, several actually that are easy to follow, and you can't watch every single game. You got to pick one, and a simple run of 10 points. Like say the Sixers and the Knicks are playing, and you like the Sixers at home. They're say -7. All of a sudden and it has to be in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden the Knicks in the first quarter rip off 10 points. And usually when a team rips off 10 or more, there's a timeout eventually. Almost always. So when that timeout happens, it gives you the opportunity then to get the in-game. Because a lot of times when you're trying to do it during the action, you'll hit submit and it'll say, oh no, it just changed. And that's at all the apps I've tried.
Oh,
but this rule of, that your opponent that you're trying to beat the spread with rips off 10 in a row, you're gonna get much better line than you did pre-flop.
Oh,
and you just keep building it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the same thing with the totals. There's we did this in the basketball NCAA tournament where you'll get a pace of play, and I do it over 3-minute periods. So you'll get pace of play where they're scoring, close to 7 points a minute over that 3-minute period. You want to bet the under. And it'll slow down in basketball to sometimes below 4, around 3.5 per minute. And if that happens over 3 minutes, you're nailing the over.
Yeah. And
there was a couple of times with Creighton. It worked like magic. But I think the number one takeaway I have, Chuck, and that's what the beauty of this show is, we can get off the rails anytime we want and go from baseball to the NBA to college basketball. But you have to have a plan before the game starts. You can't get into it. And I've seen so many, guys, like, for example, bet the Eagles, and then all of a sudden they don't look so good against the 49ers. So then they bet the 49ers in-game, get a crap line, and lose both sides. Yeah. You don't use in-game ever to hedge your original bet. That's just ridiculous. You just don't throw good money at bad.
Yeah. Exactly, and you brought up football, and I'll bring it back just a little bit to baseball. But like as probably likely as it is, and probably as much of a bummer as it is for much of my clients, my favorite play in sports betting is baseball unders. Which
that's what the pros do,
and it couldn't be more contrarian. Nobody, there's a reason people don't watch baseball because they're like, oh God, this game could end 2-1, things like that. But at the same time, like, you cannot, especially first 5 unders, you cannot overreact. Like, I the number of times I'm like, we're playing under 4.5, and it's gonna be a gimme. Like, this is close to a 5-unit play, and then I'm getting beaten up on Twitter because Joey Votto hits a home run in the first inning, and it's 2-0 Reds. And then you get to the 6th inning, and it's 2-0 Reds. And I'm like, you have to take into account all of the things that are happening here.
Yep.
Like, this is what happened. They got a 3-1 count on Votto. I mean, it was a one mistake pitch. It's still the NL. There's still pitchers batting. It's, you can't immediately be like, wow, so the overreaction is nuts, But then also, like you said, getting off the rails, the number, you have to bet the right live stuff. You can't.
Right. I agree.
You can't bet these things like, what will the next play be, a pass or a run? I mean, yeah, you have to.
I agree.
Use analytics and go into it with a level head, especially if you're trying to make money back that you think you're going to lose.
Yeah, and to shout out here to Damel Castro, who I've seen here before, I believe, and Jabali Jr.
He's worried about Bitcoin.
And that's from Steve Merrill and me doing a show. When football started, we just ran out of time. But Good time to tell everybody he and I will do a show tomorrow around 1 o'clock. Actually, it is at 1 o'clock tomorrow. And we'll talk about currencies, crude oil, all the stuff I used to enjoy doing up there a little bit north of here called Wall Street. And Bitcoin does not look good right now. And we did talk about a consolidation between 39,000 and a ceiling of about 50 based on it's called Stottlemyre's profile. Stottlemyre was a guy in the bond pit back in the late 70s, early 80s that developed tracking volume and price, and it develops like a bell curve, but it's on its side. Just imagine what that looks like. But if you watch the show tomorrow, you'll see what I'm talking about. That needed to be back and forth until we could set the stage maybe to go into record territory on the high side. But recently, the global news isn't good. The stock market is severely overvalued. Yeah. It's not a bubble like 1998 or 99, but I don't think this 38.5, 39 level is going to hold for now. But make sure I'm not trying to promote the show, but I get there's a reason to watch the show. We've done
trying to promote the show.
We've done real well on the show with the trades, and we set up a $50,000 live account. I've done trades on the show, and we also caught the Bitcoin collapse from 58,000 all the way down to 31. Yeah. So I never got back long. I think Steve had once it pierced back through like 35, and then got out at like 43 or something like that for a flip. But overall, it's done pretty well. The only Aussie currency is the only losing trade in the futures portfolio right now. But using options here to leverage down moves like this not only hedges your IRA, but the harder and faster it goes down, the more and more you're hedged, and you can be over hedged, and it keeps going down. That's a great thing because you come out ahead in a down market. And that's what I love doing. That's probably my favorite thing to do, Chuck, and that includes sports betting too.
Heck yeah, I mean you got to do what you're good at and what you have passion for.
Yeah, they're so similar markets. It's just that the financial market moves a lot faster than the betting lines.
Oh yeah,
but it's the same process.
As you spoke, the. Fulmer closed that out, and exactly what we opened our NL show this morning with was it's pretty damn hard to bet a favorite on September 21st of
yeah.
And the White Sox go down again as AJ Hinch tries to get to a 500 season. Whew. You had that Tigers over.
Yeah, that'd be good. That would be good.
As I am completely sweating out my Royals over. That was our big futures of the season. So sweep the double yesterday is just icing on the cake. We're going to end at 74. I almost guarantee it, but it's all right. It was a ride.
And what was their total in the beginning of the season?
74.5.
Oh man,
I had a lot of stuff.
I see what you're saying. 74 now.
I had a lot of stuff. We really liked Sally. That was an anchor. I didn't have him quite MVP status, but I love the young pitching, that there was going to be such a variety of arms and Minor. I am like a Mike Minor guy. So, there's one of my flaws. Not a Matheny guy as much, but this is more his thing. He's take a middling team, win 75 games. All I'm asking is go 75 and 87 in a division that I did think would be more down, and it wasn't the Royals. It's by far not over. We have the Twins and more Indians and Tigers left. So there's no White Sox games. There's no outside of the division. It's sitting in front of us for the 75 wins. That's for sure.
Well, I hope you get there. I'm going to keep an eye on it now for sure that I'm aware of it. We have another big time matchup. Probably the biggest matchup on the card tonight. There's one coming up after this one. I would put second, but let's talk about this one first. This is the Jays and the Rays.
Oh, so good.
AL East. Blue Jays surging with that tremendous offensive lineup that even scares me. Even if I wasn't watching the game, just the thought of it and being a pitcher on the mound would be frightening. And the Rays, of course, have been the team in the American League that really put it together, and they're kind of money ballish and 93 and 58, 48 and 28 at home, 20 games over 500. But the Blue Jays are 41 and 35 away, which is good.
That is an organization, folks. That is.
It is.
That is a sports organization. And you mentioned the Jays lineup that would scare you. It's funny. The Rays did trade for Nelson Cruz, which is cool. I mean, he's incredibly old, and that's the age that he's willing to admit. So I understand that he is a big name in the middle of that lineup. But can you think of a more antithesis lineup than the lineup that the Jays and Rays feature against each other? I mean, they do have the Rookie of the Year, and there are players that you and I hell yeah, Zunino is money. Probably one of the best. I mean, we just talked about Perez, who is better than Zunino, but there's not a lot that are. And it's just it's a Kevin Cash smoke and mirrors. I don't know. It's a fun game because it shouldn't be where the Jays are up in arms. And if we're going to talk about this game right now, Alec Manoa, one of the guys I was pumped to get going this season. And the Jays are 13-4 in games where he started, and 2-1 against the Rays. But both wins were in Toronto. The loss was at the Trop, and it was ugly. Both wins were ugly for them. The loss was ugly for the Jays as well. And Rasmussen, the Rays are 7-1 with Rasmussen on the mound. And I alluded to that bullpen. Let me get these exact numbers here. Last 7 days, the Jays have the worst bullpen. Well, close to the worst bullpen. They're about 5.56 FIP, and that's with a 188 batting average on balls in play and a 95% left on base rate. So when I talk about those things, the batting average on balls in play is non-strikeout, non-homers, is your defense good type stuff. And the average should be 300. And everything should regress from 388 or 188 should regress towards 300. And left on base rate should be about 70 and should always regress towards that. And so, I mean, when I use that FIP, that's fielding independent, and it's ERA scale based. I don't use ERA at all. I don't say the word ERA in any kind of write-up. And it is a full 2 points worse than what their ERA is their FIP. The Blue Jays' pen has been bad. The Rays score insane amounts of runs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings.
Yep.
I mean, it's like unheard of. I don't know if I can get this pulled back up, but I mean, the other night, they were already leading the league. They put 7 on in the bottom of the 9th when they went into it down 5-1. And you may have to give me a second while I find this.
No, that's okay.
But, I mean,
while you're looking at that, I mentioned it this morning on our other National League show. The Yankees are in 4th place. And there's other 4th place teams like the Marlins, like the LA Angels, and then the Chicago Cubs. And all those teams are losing teams. And here's the Yankees, significantly over 500. But I don't think they're going to make it. And if Toronto gets their bullpen together, look out come playoff time. Oh, yeah.
So here it is. So for the entire season, now keep in mind, this is a long season, so this is a lot of stats. And so everything sounds diluted. Like when I say someone's BABIP is 330, and you're like, well, that's not that much over 300. Well, that's 30 points that it can come down. So the Rays average 1.8 runs per game in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. Nobody's over 1.5 in the rest of the major leagues. And it's absurd because this is what they do. This is just another reason that people take them for granted. Opposing bullpens take them for granted. Opposing teams take them for granted. I don't even think Kevin Cash gets the recognition he deserves. I mean, Dave Roberts, the two managers that managed in the World Series, Dave Roberts is a household name for anybody that's ever bet $5 on a game they've blamed it on Dave Roberts if they lost a Dodgers bet, and that same bettor may not know who Tampa Bay's manager is. It's
exactly. That's a great
point.
point.
And he's been there since 2015.
That's a great point. That's a great trivia question if people wouldn't look it up.
Yeah, Joe Madden's in his second stop.
Yep.
They hasn't skipped a beat. And then they made a World Series for the first time since Madden took them there back in 2008. And so it's wild that you can still get. And I guess the main gist of what I'm saying is Alec Manoa is a plus. The Jays lineup is a plus. But it's just amazing that on this day, as you said, they're 93-58, and they're getting points. And I know that's not the right term, but you go on to betonline.org right now, and you can bet the Rays to win tonight's game at even money.
I take it you like the Rays.
I don't even.
What's that?
I don't even. I don't think I would take the over in this game, especially if you can get that 8.5 at normal juice. I think it's the over. But you just can't. I can't fathom. I just can't fathom this situation where the Yankees are $3 favorites and terrible team. The Brewers are a $2 favorite over a playoff team, and the Rays are not favored. And that's what it's just this thing. It's the market. You mentioned the market. We were going to talk about it in the NFL. The market doesn't give a damn about the pennant-winning AL team. They don't.
It doesn't even know who it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're like, does one of those teams have Vlad Jr.? You're going to play against some guy named Rasmussen? I'll take him. And I just couldn't imagine. I just couldn't imagine holding a straight-faced Jays ticket with all that in mind. Even as much as, if I had to pick a side in any of the four aspects, I'd probably pick Jays first 5. Money line.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's just amazing the disrespect across the board.
Oh, I agree. Welcome to the show, Tony Mejia. For those that don't know, he had a wonderful first week in the Circa, and I hope I didn't jinx him by saying that.
You did.
But he's smiling.
Retroactively. You were the reason why all my teams blew leads in the thing. But I got last night's Packers, but I was on the losing end of the Seahawks meld against the Titans. I was on the losing end of my favorite game was the Rams. It was my 5% play. They were in control until they weren't. The Cardinals didn't get there even though they won. It was, I believe, 3.5, won by a field goal. And then what was my 5th? I forget right now, but it was another game that was up. Oh, the Chiefs up at the half and couldn't hold on against Lamar and company. So it was like Groundhog Day, man. You have a lead and you're like, oh, don't feel safe. Oh, right. That's why I don't feel safe. Oh, they're going down.
All right, Tony, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I love this scenario, and so I want to see what you think. So the kicker lines up for the field goal. You've already lost in Minnesota. What are you hoping for?
Oh, I don't care. If they had blown that lead, because it was back and forth, so that wasn't as big a culprit as the other games. Other games, I probably would have been spiteful. This one, I'm like, Minnesota actually played a good game. And I didn't expect Minnesota to hang around the way they did without Everson Griffin, without Anthony Barr.
Right.
So that played a big role in me thinking.
Sometimes you get that internal spite where you're just like, well, I wanted to make it. I wanted to make it because now I just want them to lose.
Yeah, now you lose because you let me down. Absolutely. Yeah. That has been known to happen. But we're 6-4. Thank goodness for the 5-0 in the first week. So we'll just take it. And again,
think about it. That's how I always.
It was bizarre.
I always. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that the Packers were, not at all in the neighborhood of covering at the break against the Lions, and they shut them out second half and get the cover. It's almost like you had to be down to cover games this week in week 2.
It's the only damn game I lost, Tony.
Oh yeah,
freaking Lions, sacks of shit.
That's exactly right. At this point, the NFL and the covering game, it comes down to the final possession. You almost got it at the end.
Well, Kelly, it was
a hell of a breakup.
Kelly in Vegas and I were talking on Twitter, the only play I had in that game that wasn't a player prop was and we talked about this, John, was the Lions team total over 17.5. I was
Yeah. Yep. I was on that too. I actually bet that personally.
I popped a cork. Oh, I bet that personally a lot.
Yep.
I even wrote that they might do this in the first half. Oh.
And on the show yesterday, it was either Finn or I think Rob Vino, 17.5 points Packers first half. That didn't work out either.
No.
But
bizarro week.
Yep.
I'll leave it at this. I think there's a lot of questions related to that Green Bay Packers team, and I still will avoid them. I can't bet them for any good reason, but I will say this, and Tony Mejia knows it, so does Dr. Chuck. When you play these contests, it's a totally different thing because most of us put out 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 bets on a Sunday for our clients. But then when you have to pick that fifth one, or you have 3 that you like, and you got to determine among 2 games that you really don't like, you really, you like the one side a little bit, but you have to do it, and it becomes harder when the buys start coming in because you have fewer games. The Thursday game is almost always eliminated. I don't think I've ever had the Thursday game on a card for a contest.
It's usually a bad juju. Usually,
it has to be the perfect situation. I think I've been in contests for the last 5 to 7 years. I think I can count on one hand how many times the Thursday game.
I have done a decent amount of Thanksgiving, but not a lot of Thursday night.
Yeah. Because Thanksgiving you get at least three games to choose from. But I'll tell you what, I would not have done anything differently. The Packers were my 5th pick ahead of the Panthers, which would have won, but I had the Panthers a decisive 6. I really like the Chiefs. I love the Rams. The Rams were my favorite play of the day, and they looked so good, and until they didn't, I liked the angle of Jalen Ramsey shutting down whoever was hot at the time for the Colts because they don't really have a number 1 receiver, and then he gets beat by Zach Pascal for the key touchdown. And I would have won if that 2-point conversion doesn't go their way, and it was knocked down at the line and just caroms into Jack Doyle's hands. So just a bad break, and then obviously
I guess part of why I also agree that it was Bizarro week is like it's one of those so you look back 2020 vision and you're like, oh, the Bills, cool. Well, nobody was taking that.
Oh yeah, I mean
the world was on Miami. You're right. The world was on Miami.
It's just like when you look back and you're like, so what was the no sweat bets? Oh, the Bills and Pats. Right, like
the poor Jets. The poor Jets fans. They had hope. That's the worst thing you can give the Jets fans. Give them hope that they're gonna beat Darth Vader and New England. And
could
look
you
what
imagine
happened.
if Zach Wilson beats Belichick? It would still be on the back page of the tabloids right now.
That might have made the New York Times even.
Shoot. So, in that sense, it's a good thing that he was just like the rest of them. But I like Zach Wilson. But yeah, it was a tough matchup for them. Shoot, we'll move on to week 3, and again at this point.
Oh, it's a marathon.
Yeah,
but if you go 6-4 every 2 weeks, you're going to be there.
Yeah, go 3.
You are going to be there,
and keep it up for a good month, and you'll be fine.
It is damn hard to hit above 60%, picking 5 games every week with no totals. And I will say that time and time again because I think a lot of people don't realize it. They think what you hit 58%, you won 15 grand. Oh, I could do that. No, you can't. No, you can't. Especially if it's your first year. Because I grinded here on Saturday morning, 2 hours longer than I normally do, deciding that 5th pick. But anyway, we're going to do just a real quick rundown on the Rangers and the Yankees. I did a National League show with Dr. Chuck this morning. We were looking at games that have playoff implications. We did that one. And we had the college football show as well on SportsMemo TV. And now we're doing the American League edition since Chuck was nice enough to come on and join us here. But I think Dr. Chuck will be a great addition because I want to see Tony Finn squirm. That's what I want to see because
I can't make him squirm. But
can you imagine two guys talking about FIP for like 15 minutes on the same game, back and forth? I'd be like watching a tennis match.
Oh, man.
That's good. But Rangers-Yankees. Yankees have been a volatile team in terms of win streaks, win losses. Now the bullpen is.
It's a nice way to
now. Now Garrett Cole, gives up the most hits and runs in his career. I believe that was the other night to a crap team. So tell us what you think tonight, Dr. Chuck, with the Rangers-Yankees, and then we'll go to final round of best bets because I have to pick up my car.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so. I can do it quick. There's not a whole lot. Dane Dunning starting. Rangers are 1-9 on the road. They're 2-9 on the road facing lefties since the All-Star break in the first 5 run line, and that's the run line. I mean, it's a monster price. It's like minus 160 just for the Yankees to be leading after 5. It's similar to what we discussed. Like, how are the Rays even money, and the Yankees are like just to pull them on the run line of the game, you're laying points. So, I mean, there's not a lot of the additional factor of this one is that the umpire tonight is Will Little, who is one of those guys like we discussed this morning in the National League side. He's one of those hometown heroes, and they are 11 hometown favorites, like outside of the division are 11-1 in the last 12, 11-1 also in the first 5. So, I mean, do with what you will, because you're laying – what are you laying? Money line on both. So you're laying money line on the full game. It's like the best price you're going to find is like minus 260 and then, minus 240 on the first. So you would have to pretty much go a spread, maybe go like a team total would be a good spot to maybe get a team total. Yankees over 5.5 might be a spot where they – probably punish Dane Dunning. You're only getting those 8 at bats, and like Tony Mejia said, volatile is a nice way to put it. So I don't want a lot to do with holding a Yankees ticket. It's not a fun time. Jordan Montgomery is the definition of volatile as well, and so as sure of a thing it is the Rangers seem to lose with Dunning on the road. Might be 4-3 again.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I don't think the Yankees are going to be in the playoffs. I just don't see that happening. And I don't see Ben Simmons being with the Sixers anymore either.
And if we don't have a lot of time left for the one other game, my fade monster Marco Gonzalez, you have to take.
There you go. I skipped over. I apologize. That's right.
You got to take
Blackburn's still pitching, right?
Yeah, A's first 5. Who cares? Play action on the A's.
That sounds like that's going to be your best bet for the show.
Yeah, Marco. Yeah, first 5 A's. Marco Gonzalez is, as we said, FIP. His FIP's almost 3 points higher than his ERA. He's hit more. He's connected with more barrels. He's got 44 barrels hit in only 124 innings, and the leader in the clubhouse has 50, and that person pitched 200 innings so far. So. I mean, Matt Olson, Matt Chapman both crushed the guy. This isn't going to be close in the first 5 as long as Blackburn can keep it to a minimum.
That's good stuff. I actually I'm considering playing Oakland on the run line, but
yeah,
I would only do that if Tony Finn was on the show because he abhors. That's the word, abhors. That's an extreme form of hatred. Anybody who thinks that betting home teams with a minus 1.5 run line is smart.
Well,
but
it's
you know what?
It's not. No, it's not smart. It's valuable. It's not. It's not. I don't think it's ever smart.
True. And furthermore, it's my $5 and I'll do whatever I want with it.
Right.
That's it. So James McGinnis, he's from Australia. Yeah, I guess he kind of was. Last drive he kind of got him going. And Max on record, he's a very inquisitive guy. He hates DeChambeau. He likes my golf portion of this show.
He's a
all my other
guy.
all my other guests hate the golf portion of this show, but we've done pretty well with the DraftKings, that's for sure.
My PhD is in FIP. There you go.
So, do you want to say what your PhD is in? I mean, it technically has a connection with Finn. I can't even believe I said that.
So, my PhD is in what Finn's recreational fund is in, pharmaceuticals. So, yeah. Yep,
and like I said, if Las Vegas Chris is listening, and he is a big listener of this show. Can you remind Tony to get that bourbon that he lost a bet to Dr. Chuck, and the bourbon should be paid off by now, I think.
It's destroyed.
Just saying. All right, so Mr. Mejia, what is your best bet for the show?
Well, I'll go with your Phillies and the horrible Orioles.
Attaboy.
To go over the posted total. It's Adonis Medina. Give me a quick scouting report on him. Making his fourth career start in a bullpen game a year and a day after his major league debut. Is he going to make love to pressure?
Boy, that's one guy I don't know anything about. But if it's a bullpen game, I like whoever's on the mound tonight, literally, because I think being 2-0 last night against the Orioles and being shut out, Harper didn't get a hit. I think you're going to see a ton of runs tonight. It's pretty humid in Philly, too. And Dr. Chuck keeps track of those ADIs and the other weather stats, so I would think that they would probably confirm that. Ball will be flying out of there pretty good.
Interestingly, the number opened at 10.5, got bet down to 10, and now is available at 9.5. And going for the Orioles is Connor Green, who they basically DFA'd on October 7th. The Dodgers claimed him and then dumped him on October 20th, and now he's back with the Orioles. And if you scroll down to his Wikipedia page, because I barely heard of him, under personal life, and quote, Green is an avid surfer and has also worked as a model. He is friends with actor Charlie Sheen and makes no minor appearances on the television series Anger Management. So that's interesting. Ooh. But we will see. I don't think either of those pitchers do well, and I'll take the over. Thank you.
So hopefully Connor Green is winning.
I mean, you got to win if you're friends with Sheen.
Yeah.
Wow.
You always learn something on this show.
Facing the Adonis.
So Phillies full game? No, you're doing the over.
Over
9.5. Yeah, I like that too. I think Phillies probably could score 8 or 9 on their own merit. I know that stadium and it's not Arlington, but when you get conditions like we have right now, it's not super hot, but it's on the humid side. That ball's going to be flying out, and it's coming out of the southeast. And that usually, I wouldn't be surprised if Harper had 2 home runs tonight.
There you go.
So that would be a good prop bet.
Yeah.
He's we were talking about it before you came on, Tony, that I have that George Springer little angle where if he comes hitless in a game, you bet that team the next day, and it's working for Toronto again. And Harper is now fast becoming one of those guys too that goes hitless. He doesn't go hitless more than 1 or 2 games, especially since the All-Star break, and that trend has been very good. He was hitless last night, so it stands to reason. Which I guess the Phillies, you shouldn't use logic on them because it'll cost you money. But you would think they'd beat one of the worst teams in the American League tonight and not lose 2 in a row to them.
Who's you got? Who's the NL MVP for you guys? Right now?
I think Harper's going to do it.
Not if they don't make the playoffs, really.
Who else is going to get it? Tatis would get it. They're not going to make it.
Maybe Tatis or Freddie Freeman, because Tatis isn't making the playoffs either. But
Freeman would be the only other choice, I think.
Yeah. But they won't. And so I'm totally with you. And I was griping about the El Nino earlier. If they're never going to give Freddie Freeman back-to-back awards over Tatis when they can give it to Tatis this year, and it just sucks. And it sucks.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
I know.
Yep, I think there's like 10 guys that have won it back to back. It used to be a good trivia question. There's 9 that did it, and they were all at different positions.
Really?
Yeah.
But one of the reasons that I like Tony, so it's funny that you brought that over up, because it's like you said, it's coming down. I wonder why it's coming down.
Right, I know, that's scary.
It's an NL, but it's an NL interleague game off of a 2-0, where
I guess.
Where the Orioles are like this.
But it's a bullpen game with two starting pitchers nobody's ever heard of.
Oh no, I'm on
bullpens that are bad.
No, I'm on your side.
No, I understand that. I just mean like it's scary.
Because Vegas, and this is one of my entire systems is fade the bag, which is why on earth is Vegas telling you 2 pitchers are batting in this game, and you get 10.5 runs. Take the under, take the under, take the under.
True. Yeah, maybe just on the number alone and in an NL park. That's true.
Yeah. I don't know what this is exactly the kind of bet that Tony Finn would pigeonhole me into. But I bet you NL Park 10.5 is an over.
Yeah, no doubt.
So my free picks have to do with golf.
Oh.
The Ryder Cup is this week. And if you're not a golf fan and you've never seen the Ryder Cup, you got to watch it, because it is one of it's like something you've never seen before, and it's incredible passion, excitement, and players are not playing for themselves, which is what the PGA Tour and European Tour are all about. They're actually playing for a team and a country, and in case of Europe, it's many countries, but it's very passionate, very competitive. On BetMGM, USA is minus 185. Europe is plus 200. A tie is plus 1,200. I'm taking the tie. Nice. And as a second one, player to score 5 to win 5 points, which is pretty hard. Sergio Garcia is sitting at 125 to 1 to do it, and it could be. I need to research this, and I'll make it official tomorrow. It might be the possibility that he will only be in maybe 4 of the contests. They play different types of golf. They play alternate shot, better ball partners, 4-ball, and that also makes it fun, because that's what we do at the clubs. But Sergio at 125 to 1 to get 5 points, being the single best Ryder Cup player in European history. And he's playing well. So I would be surprised if he's not in 5 of them. He certainly will be in the singles, which is the last part of this thing. So we'll put that one down with a little question mark. But then on the top scorer for the USA team is Patrick Cantlay at plus 750. I like him. He's number 1 in the world. He won the FedEx Cup. He's in great form. He will play hard, and I don't see any reason why he doesn't earn the most points. And then again, top scorer for Europe. Where am I here? Oh, I'm sorry. Top scorer overall for both teams. I'm going with Patrick Cantlay again at 11 to 1. So those are my picks.
How many players per team in this thing?
There are 12. There's 12 players on each team. 10 are chosen by World Golf Rankings, and then there's 2 captain picks. And I actually forget who the captain picks are. But it doesn't matter. But it should be really, really close this year, and very, very competitive, very heated. There's going to be a lot of fist pumping and a lot of noise. It's in the U.S. It's at Whistling Straits, another tremendous Pete Dye design course. He did the Island Green down there at Sawgrass in Ponte Vedra, Florida, for the Players Championship. He's done a lot of courses, but this is another one that is a masterpiece. And from what I understand from a few people that are there, there's going to be a lot of birdies. And that does favor the U.S., but you still got to putt it, and you still got to go in the hole. But I think you're going to see a lot of holes, especially in match play, had with birdies on the par fives. You could have a half with eagle, where both players get eagle, and you don't get a point for that. So it should be really good. It'll be very offensive-like, as opposed to what the majors tend to be, which is grinding and, difficult situations. This will be more, wide open speedway. Like Talladega versus Bristol. How's that?
There you go.
How's that? Anything else, guys?
Captain's picks are Spieth, Scheffler, Xander, Finau, Berger, English.
That's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah.
That is one hell of a lineup. I mean, the tour is so deep now, and most of these European golfers on the European team are PGA Tour dominant. They play some events over in Europe, in the European Tour, but the tour is the PGA Tour by far. So the tour has never been deeper. It's going to be a blast. I mean, Koepka's ready to go. He's got a little bit of a thing to prove too. They assured the captain, they had that big spat. It was more than a spat. He and DeChambeau just don't like each other. Yeah. And it became pretty public, but they assured the captain that they would be focused on their golf games and nothing else.
On the driving range now.
What's that?
I said they were talking on the driving range.
Yeah. Yep. Wouldn't you love to hear that conversation?
Yeah. John won $16 in my FanDuel based on your pick, so we blame that guy Stewart for not making the cut. I finished 549th of 7,660.
Well, that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Right.
Pereira,
pretty good.
Zalatoris, Hoffman, Vanderbilt, and Varner all stepped up. Stewart blew it.
I was having in the football one, I did a $100 entry in one of those I like the single entry contest, because then you don't get these syndicates throwing in 150 different lineups, to win that 2 million thing. So single and under 10,000 entries, I'm interested in doing it. But let's see recent results here.
I did a $100 beat the score, and I had KJ Hamler, who absolutely was brutal, and I had Rondale Moore, who was tremendous. So, kind of blew that. And then I had Justin Herbert against the Cowboys as my quarterback. And then he, obviously didn't have a great game. So did not get there to 135. But that's what I like to do, because I've done it before, where they cap the field at a decent thing. And if you don't get to 135, you all share the pot. Sometimes it's a lot. So
yep.
I like those $100 or $50 beat the scores.
Well, you can hear the dog wants to go play fetch. But I was 159th in the NFL one. Of course, I had Brady, and I stacked him with Gronk, and it kind of worked.
Nice. Oh, that doesn't.
But that was at a 5,600. But the golf, I didn't think it was going to be all that good, because I didn't have all six through the cut. So 3 lineups, believe it or not. And they're probably the same names that you used. They came in 1,438th out of, I guess it was almost 200,000 entries. But that only paid $80 each. And I had Webb Simpson, Harold Varner III, which you had mentioned. You read his name off of that list. I remember that. You said, who's he? Charlie Hoffman, Pereira. I have to admit, that was a good call. But that's my models. It's the math. I mean, I don't know the guy from Adam, but he comes up on the list. I can't even pronounce his name.
Yeah, you're like Pariah. I'm like, that's a rough name to grow up with.
Yeah. And then that Vanderbilt guy, we looked at him. He did very well. But the guy that I had ranked number 1 to put in the lineup, based on value and the venue and how he was expected to play, really played bad, and that was Cameron Young, who missed the cut.
Yeah, I didn't have him in my lineup.
That was costly, but that's what makes it fun. Usually 5 out of 6 you're going to cash something. 6 out of 6 you're definitely in the hunt, and I have 6 out of 6 guys. I get like paranoid that if I look at it, I'm going to jinx it. So I don't even look at it.
I did well on college, and I've done well on college both the weeks that I've entered. had Matt Corral this past week, and we hung like 60 plus on Tulane. So I did really nicely, but NFL was just brutal all around this week. Bad week too.
We'll have to talk about that. I know we could never talk about the circuit because I'd listen to what you were saying about the teams you like, then I'd listen to Chuck what he likes, and then I'd listen to look at my stuff and what I like, and my head would blow up.
Yeah, it's no good.
I wouldn't be able to do anything. But anyway, guys, thanks for your time.
Thank you, buddy.
We'll do this again real soon, and hats off to Tony, Finn, and Rob Vino, who are probably doing other shows, probably doing work. I guess Tony Finn's at the grocery store getting lettuce, tomatoes, and Quaaludes, I guess.
Yep.
So on behalf of all these guys and everybody else that comes on this show, sportsmemo.com, waitertalk.com, may all the wins be yours tonight.